It's time for another episode of The Oil Stream with Dustin Nielson and Tom Gazzola, presented by Popeye's Louisiana Kitchen.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode, a Friday episode of The Oil Stream. And we did buy it on Buy It or Deny that Evander Kane would be signed by the time we did Friday's episode. And here we are in Friday's episode, and we got a few things to discuss. Tommy, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing good, Dusty. Excited for the weekend. Excited to be at Canadian Brewhouse on Sunday, Manning location.
You got the Manning location, hey? Nice.
Yeah. Well, hey, that's my backyard, man. North side. I grew up not too far away from Manning, up in Hollow Canyon. And when I moved there, all you could see was farmers' fields behind my parents' house and then Fort Sask. So it'll be good to be back in the old stomping grounds.
We're all where we're supposed to be. I'm back on Ellerslie Road where I grew up in this city. Eric's on the west end, and you're on the north side. So we got you covered. If you want to watch some football on Sunday, you can join Tommy, myself, and Eric at those three Canadian Brewhouse locations. The Oil Stream, as always, brought to you by Popeye's Louisiana Kitchen. Over a dozen locations now in the city, most recently in Windermere, coming soon in St. Albert. Delicious Popeye's chicken sandwiches. They've got the new Popeye's Chickens Oilers meal. You get a sandwich, you get the dips, you get, I think, 4 chicken nugs, you get the drink, you get the sides, you get the biscuit, you get all that stuff, and you get a Yesy Pulley RV puck right now. Nuge puck coming still. There's 4 pucks to collect in all, and you get those at all of your Popeye's Louisiana Kitchen locations. Tommy, lots to discuss today on the Oil Stream. Let's start with the game last night. Obviously, they've now won 3 in a row. Remarkably, they fall behind again, which is just insane that it's happened this often. But now it's just what they know. It's just how they play, and they came back and got another win last night. What were your thoughts on that victory?
Good win is the first thing. Good win. That's a very strong Nashville Predators team that the Oilers did beat, and they played them well. They didn't back down from the physical play that Nashville brings to the table, and they still hustled to pucks. They competed. They didn't get down when they got behind a goal. They didn't get down after they gave up the lead again to go down 2-1, and I really thought that this Oilers team was performing well and starting to get that confidence back. The wins over Calgary and Vancouver were steps in the right direction, building blocks, whatever you want to call them. And then this win over Nashville, I think, kind of further advances that thought that maybe this team's starting to figure it out again and is finally out of that rut that it was in, perhaps. So overall, good win. I like the way they played, and Koskinen had a pretty solid performance once again, especially in the shootout.
What I was going to say, with these 3 wins in a row, you say maybe they're now officially out of that rut after that win over a pretty good Nashville team. What has been the biggest difference for you over the last 3 games as opposed to what we saw that previous, 6 weeks?
Yeah, that small bit of time. The biggest difference to me, and this is what I think is really starting to pay dividends, is the fact that they chase pucks. They compete for pucks. There's a level of desperation there, Dusty, that when they were cruising along, and even when they were in the doldrums of a 6-game losing streak and then a 7-game losing streak, it just seemed like they were too nonchalant, too much swagger, too much cockiness. I don't know if cockiness is the right word, but too much faith in just their God-given abilities, if you will, to put it a certain way. And now, it's kicked in that they need to actually hustle, and it's showing. And I think that it's paying off, and breaks are going to finally go their way, and they're starting to. And you got to work for your breaks. So it's that old tried and true saying, hard work pays off. And look at that. 3 games in. I know the game against Florida, they did work hard.
They started really well in that game.
Yeah. But these last 3, it's paid off.
I think it's been goaltending. You can just look at it. Like Mikko Koskinen, and there's been a few goals that I didn't like over this stretch, but he's given them some timely saves. And, they've won the 3 games in a row. And if you look at what they started, 16-5, they had a .916 save percentage. The last 6 weeks, it was like .870 or .880 or something. And these last 3 games, that was a .933 last night. Koskinen has been making some timely saves for them. And that's why I know I've seen some people on Twitter go, see, Dusty, goaltending wasn't the issue. I was just like, what are you talking about? Like, Koskinen has played well the last 3 games. This, if anything, proves that goaltending over the last 6 weeks was the issue, because Koskinen wasn't stealing games. He wasn't coming up with big saves when they need him. In fact, it was the opposite. He was allowing goals when they needed a big save. And over these last 3 games, he's been able to do that. And to me, this just shows when you have quality NHL goaltending, this is what this team can do. And I think this last game is just a perfect example that goaltending was the issue, one of the issues. There's a lot of issues, but goaltending was one of the driving issues for the last 6 weeks for people who are still somehow, some way in denial of that, which I still don't know how there are those it's not goaltending truthers out there, but they still exist, Tommy.
No disagreement here. And the next question is, can Koskinen sustain this? All the evidence points to no.
You're right.
Do I hope that that's not the case this time around and he can? Of course. And I still don't think there's any reason to believe that he can maintain this level of play. I am impressed by what he has been putting together over the last 3 games. Kudos to him. Honestly, it's like someone lit a fire under his ass and he's responded the way you expect him to. But I mean, can you teach an old dog new tricks? I don't think so. So I think that goaltending is still a huge question mark. Ride it out as long as you can. You've got a great opportunity here, especially in these next 2 games, to get 4 more points. But I think the big question is, what happens in goal? Can it be sustained by Koskinen? The evidence, the stats suggest no. And Gregor had it on his show yesterday. He did a show from my place, and he threw out the stats. Like Koskinen, historically, when he gets 3 games in a row, has had a very hard time putting together really strong efforts all 3 games. That was one of the rare occurrences that we witnessed last night, which was great. Comes at a very important moment in the season.
Yeah, they certainly needed it. He's delivered it. There's nothing that leads us to believe it can continue, which is why he's got the reputation that he does. But who knows? Maybe this time's different, but we'll see. All right. Evander Kane availability today. We're going to get to that, but we do have a bunch of questions that people have sent in. We got your Ken Morrison Remax question of the day. We've got Buyer to Tonight for JiffyLube out in Morinville as well. But let's dive into these. There's some questions that relate to the Evander Kane availability today, Tommy. So let's get to those and we can kind of carry into our own thoughts. But Carmen on Twitter earlier today asks, why is the Edmonton media so toxic? Why didn't they welcome Evander onto the team? Why were they just trying to gear him about his personal life? Tommy, you were there today. I got some opinions on this as well, but you were there today. So you take the floor on this one. Where do you come out on it?
Okay, thanks to Carmen for the question. I know he listens and watches and all of that, so appreciate it. I'll go after the question about why didn't the media welcome Evander Kane to town? Because when I saw him tweet that to us, and I saw it to a few others as well, why didn't the media welcome Evander Kane? And I was like, okay, let me really break this down. Why is this question being asked? And my opinion on why he wasn't welcomed to Edmonton or the Oilers by the media is, first of all, it's not our job as media to welcome a player to town, especially those that don't work for the team. I do recollect when I was hosting Oilers TV, there were a few times where I'd get a one-on-one exclusive and I would welcome the player to town. But at the same time, I was being reminded on a daily basis that, Tom, you are part of OEG. You are supposed to be a team player, if you will. You're part of the group. And even though that really bothered me because that's not my nature, I'm not on the team and I'm here to report on the team. And I didn't take the job to be a cheerleader, which is what they wanted. I would do it, right? And you're being sincere because you're truly meeting someone for the first time. So I'd say, hey, welcome to Edmonton, to the organization. I didn't necessarily love it, but I knew it was part of the job. The other thing, too, is maybe you'll hear a partner broadcaster bring it up. The boys from Chad might do it because they're in partnership with the Oilers. The boys from Sportsnet, same thing. You might hear it from them. And then on top of that, when media does sometimes welcome a player to town, and it has happened, and it has been people that aren't associated with the team, I think to when that does happen, and usually it's at the start of training camp, where you're first meeting these new players that are coming to the organization. Tensions are low. Everyone's in good moods. It's a fresh start. So, people are in a good spirits. They'll be, hey, welcome to town, blah, blah, blah. And then they'll go from there. That's not the situation we're in today. We're midway through the season. The tensions are very high, although they're not as high as they were last week. And I think add to the fact that this is a player with a reputation, not known for being cordial with everybody, even the media. He needled back today, which is fine. This is an intelligent person, clearly, and a hell of a hockey player. So I think to answer Carmen's question, that's probably why you didn't see a welcome to town. And on top of that, like, even read the body language and the mood from Ken Holland and Dave Tippett. This is a move that's coming at a tough time, and where this team is struggling to get back into the mix and has a real opportunity to. So that's my take on why no welcome to town from the media. And then I'll add this, because I did see the reply from someone to Carmen.
I see the one there from James. Yeah.
James, like, listen, that is ridiculous. To even suggest that is
yeah.
foolish.
James suggested that it's a race issue, and that's why the media was a little bit hard on him. And then, come on.
Absolutely not. Please, James, absolutely ridiculous. I'm just going to say it. And I'll speak for all the media in Edmonton. I have no problem standing in front of that one for the entire group here, saying, no, it's not the race.
Look, my relationship with a few of the guys down there asking questions has been a little bit rocky as of lately. But to suggest that, they gave him a hard time because of his race. To me, what that comes across from James is a complete asshole tweet that really does an injustice to racism in general to suggest that that's what these questions are being asked for. I think that completely misses the point. And I'm not sitting here protecting these guys, not at this time and not any other time. That's just not how it works. But that's a bullshit comment. I don't think that's cool at all. Now, as for the availability itself, he's an intelligent dude. Like, he sat up there, had a pretty decent conversation with a lot of guys who were going at his past, and justifiably so. I mean, he's brought that on himself. He knows how to deal with it. He just did his interview with Kayla Gray. Like, he knows all these answers that are coming. But I can see how he could charm people over for a little bit with just the way that he handles himself. Like, he was trying to crack a few jokes, trying to lighten the mood a little bit. He comes across as a very intelligent guy. There's no doubt about that. I don't think it's debatable. I know some people have been posting polls like, will Evander Kane help this team on the ice? Yeah, he's going to help them on the ice. The two things I took away is that he comes across as highly intelligent, which kind of blows my mind with all the stuff that he's been involved with over the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years. And then on the other side, Ken Holland and Dave Tippett took this on themselves. I mean, they both said, we did the homework on this guy. We sat there with him. Tommy, they're basically giving this the green light. This is on them if it doesn't work. It's not on the leadership core. It's not on the media. It's not on the fan base. Ken Holland and all the media guides behind me here, he looked in those, found his numbers, and then said that they did the homework on it. So what I do find crazy, and you can speak to this more than I can, I have a hard time believing that every single person they asked about Evander Kane said, great guy, because a lot of people texting in today said my brother-in-law plays in the NHL and he played with Evander Kane and he said he's an awful teammate. So I'm sure there must have been some mixed reviews somewhere along the way, but for this team and this spot it's in right now, and the fact that on the ice, I think Evander Kane is a perfect fit for this team. I mean, I can see why they're doing it, but that was a few things I took away from the availability today. What'd you take away?
Yeah, again, reiterate, he's a smart guy. But there were some things where I could see, I'm like, okay, now I'm starting to get it. Like, if I'm looking at it as a teammate of this person, some of the things that were said or how they're said, and I could see there being some issues down the road, or how there were issues in the past within the team because of an approach to certain issues or what have you, or dealing with teammates. So my thought was, okay, like, they bring him in, they talk to the leadership group. I think he needs to win over the leadership group. I think he'll have a good chance to, because there's not a lot of time to mess around here. This team, after the All-Star break, plays basically every second day. There's not a lot of time for frivolity, getting into, scenarios off the ice that could be unfavorable. I think it's going to be hockey focused. Plus, he's in desperation mode to keep his career going. He's playing for that contract next year. So I think that everything points to him keeping it on the straight and narrow. Absolutely. But with all of this, I could see there being, or how issues came up in the past. And I think he's going to be on his best behavior here. But Dusty, on the ice, no doubt,
buddy,
this is going to help. Yeah.
If it doesn't work here, and I know this is tough to say because in sports, if you can skate, you can do whatever, you're going to get more opportunities. But if it doesn't work here, it might be really like and I don't think it will. I think it's going to work because it's short term. You said they're busy. He's going to be able to stay focused on hockey. Like I think for the 3 to 4 months that they need him, he'll probably deliver, and then we'll have the whole conversation in the offseason. What do you do with this guy? Do you make moves to try to keep him around? And that's an entirely different story. The only thing that matters right now, and his past doesn't matter to this team right now either. This team right now needs him to stay focused, be a good teammate, help deliver wins, and that's really it. I mean, as long as the guys in the room can make it work with him, then really what any of us think or what anybody else says, in the end, I know we all hate to hear this, but it really doesn't matter. Like that's what it comes down to. So
true. And
yeah,
I'll add this one note because you said you had texters who have family in the NHL, played with him and all that. Going back, I don't know, 6-7 years, whenever his name has come up, or you talk to people, especially the last couple of weeks, talking to people that either have played with him, whether it be in the NHL, the WHL, know him personally. The one thing that struck me was I'd ask, how about this and about this character issue and this character flaw, or what people say about this. Those who knew him would just be like, yep, that's a problem. And I never got a response like, yeah, but you know what? This has been misconstrued. Yeah, but he's actually a nice guy. And, this is overhyped, or yeah, but the media took it and ran with it. There's never been that yeah, but. There's always been confirmation and added comments that suggest that it's an issue everywhere he goes.
Now he's got a chance, at least for this group, to prove that it's not here. Yeah. And we'll see how it plays out. Dave Jameson on the comments section, which is great. JMO. Miss you, buddy. Hopefully you're back here. Yep. He says, Kane, and this is good because JMO comes from that side of preparing athletes to deal with the media. And JMO says Kane was composed, well prepped by his team, and had basically answered these questions from Kayla, which is, he just went through this, right? So we shouldn't be surprised, maybe, but he handled it well. And go ahead, Tommy.
Well, JMO's dealt with characters far worse than Evander Kane. Absolutely. If you ever get a chance to have
wait for the book.
With JMO, wait for the book and the name of the book. If he goes with it, I think it's brilliant too.
Dave Jameson is one of the best dudes. Thoughts and prayers with you, buddy, as he continues his battle with cancer. All right, let's get into the Ken Morrison Remax question of the day, and we'll get to maybe a few more of the questions that we had come in a little bit earlier here. If you're watching on the live stream, subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss an episode of the Oil Stream. It's brought to you by Popeye's Louisiana Kitchen. The Ken Morrison Remax question of the day, of course, brought to you by Ken Morrison. Visit his website at kenrmorrison.com. Apparently, the housing market is red hot right now. That's what I saw online the other day. Like, houses are up for like 2-3 days this LA. That's what I saw. Ken will know the ins and outs of it, so give him a call, 780-993-4815. Tommy, what do you got, buddy?
All right, Ken Morrison Remax question of the day is this, Dusty. We kind of touched on it briefly, but with these 3 wins and the way the team's playing, maybe puck luck going in the Oilers' favor now a little bit more, the team hustling and earning it and playing with more desperation. Are you of the mind that things are indeed back on track and this team does get back into the mix after these 3 games? Are you convinced, or do you still need some convincing over this weekend?
Well, I've said it multiple times. I will be betting on the Oilers to win -1.5 against Montreal with my friends at CoolBet. I think, like, with the way they've been playing and this next opponent, I think they're due for a 5-1, 6-1 big game coming up here. But as far as getting fully back on track, it kind of comes down to my one answer a little bit earlier on, and that is it depends on their goaltending, Tommy. Like, they can play. Look at Florida. They came out against Florida and looked just as good in that first period and bit against Florida as they did in Calgary, as they did against Vancouver, and as they did against Nashville. But they didn't get the saves that they needed to keep themselves in that game against Florida, and it was a whitewash the other way. Like, I didn't mind the way they played against the Panthers. So in the end, and it's such a cop-out answer, but it's also just the straight-up truth. If Mikko Koskinen can play like he has the last 3 games, then yeah, the Edmonton Oilers are going to be a pretty darn good team for the next few weeks until goaltending falls off. But it's just, I mean, my answer is just it comes down to goaltending. If Koskinen can deliver timely saves, the Oilers will be fine. Will they win some games? I know I saw his win-loss record is much better than Smith and Skinner, but like 7 or 8 of his wins, Tommy, they had to score 4 or 5 goals to win those games. So it comes down to goaltending. That's it. That's my answer. It comes down to goaltending.
Fair enough, and that's absolutely understandable. For me, if they get through this weekend, and I know they play Ottawa on Monday, so there's a couple issues. Like, they drop the ball against weak teams. They've done it. They did it this year. They did it a few weeks ago against the Sens. They did it a few weeks. So I think they have to clear these 2 games against Montreal, Ottawa, and then depending on the results in those 2 games, I think the true tell of if we can say this team is back on track will be that game in Washington. That'll be the real indicator that, yep, and take advantage of them. And we can actually say, yeah, this season is back on the rails.
There you go. What say you if you're watching on the live stream right now? Do you see them back? Do you need to see a little bit more? Your thoughts on where this is headed? You can hit us up in the comment section there. And remember, subscribe to the podcast. That is your Ken Morrison Remax question of the day. Let's get to buy it or deny it for JiffyLube, and then we'll wrap up with some of the questions that came in on Twitter a little bit earlier on. Of course, this is for JiffyLube in Morinville. Just the Morinville location. Craig and his crew out there, huge fans of the Oilers. One of my buddies. Go support JiffyLube in Morinville, and I know they've had some pretty good buzz. Monday to Friday, 8 to 6, Saturday, 9 to 4. No commission sales, so no pressure. Go out there, get your oil changed. If you want a flush, they'll give you a flush, but they're not going to push a flush on you like you get at some other places. It's that simple. You want that filter that's like wedged up in behind your glove box?
The air filter, cabin filter?
Yeah, they're like, you need this. I'm always like, just change my oil so I can go. So no commission, no pressure sales out of JiffyLube in Morinville. Here we go, Tommy. 43 games left, right? I think they played 39. 43 games left. Evander Kane will score more than 33.5 points in the next 43 games. Buy it or deny it?
I'll deny it. I think he'll come in close to 30, and that'll be pretty good, and that'll tell teams around the league that this guy can still play. He's in his prime. But I'll deny 33 plus, you said?
Yeah.
I think high 20s maybe gets to 30.
Yeah, I'll deny it as well. I was trying to figure out what to set that number at. I was just talking about the lock shop with Hustler because we're trying to get Cool Bet to get us a number that we can actually bet on. And we were anywhere between 31 and 35. I definitely taken the under on 33.5. That 30, if we set the number at 30, who knows? But, I mean, if you actually look at his career point totals, he's not a huge 70-point guy. Like, he scores 25 to 30 goals. That's his bread and butter, right? So I could see him getting 15 goals in the next 43 games, maybe even 20. But I don't know about more than 33.5 points. Stuart Skinner should start on Saturday. Buy it or deny it?
I'm buying it because I think you need to get him in the mix, especially if Mike Smith is going to be out long term. I thought he could have started yesterday, but listen, Koskinen was playing well, 2 back-to-back, really good games, and he had good numbers against Nashville. Ends up being the right decision, but I think you need Stuart Skinner in the mix here because I don't think Koskinen, given his track record, it's sustainable for him to play night in, night out, and continue to maintain the level of play that he's performed at over the last 3 games. Granted, and kudos to Mikko Koskinen, he has earned the Ming Shining Star of the Game 2 of the last 3 games on the Don Wheaton GM on White post-game show.
There we go. Valen Camus. It lives on for one small window.
No,
say it, Tommy.
Go to that. Valen
Camus. We were split on this one on Thursday. I'm not splitting it today. I'm with you. I think you go with Skinner on Saturday, and probably back to Koskinen no matter what happens with Skinner. I mean, unless he tosses a shutout against the Habs. With Evander Kane on board, Jesse Puljujarvi will be the odd man out on the top power play unit. Buy it or deny it?
I buy it. I think that, with Kane's ability to be mean and strong and tough in front and score garbage goals, and the desperation from the team, I don't know if there's patience to wait for Jesse at this point to continue to find himself on the power play. I think he is the long-term solution there for this team. I like what he's done. He's been a little bit snake bit, but I think at this point, he probably gets bumped down to the second unit, and maybe they do a rotation, Dusty. But
I would think the rotation's Kane and Hyman, probably though. I mean, you know that I would prefer JP to be out there, but I bet you it'd be Kane and Hyman.
Yeah,
probably be that rotation.
Yeah. I'll just leave it at that. But good problem to have.
Warren Fogle. I can't believe we're asking a Warren Fogle special teams question, but I'm doing it. Warren Fogle should be on the penalty kill. Buy it or deny it? Penalty kills suck lately. Let's keep that in mind.
Yeah, although it went 3 for 3 for the first time in ages yesterday,
true.
Which is nice, and it's killed off the last 4.
Let me lay something out for you, Tommy.
I'll buy it.
Let me lay. Okay, you're gonna buy it? Okay.
I'll buy it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll buy it because he's capable and he's got all the tools, speed, mindset, and hockey IQ to be on there. And I think he could do it as well as the guys who've been on the PK. So I'll buy it. Whether or not he gets on there, I don't know.
The only reason I asked this, and I was not aware of it until, a passionate fan slides into my DMs and asks me this question. So I was like, we'll bring it up. He was the Hurricanes' best penalty killing forward as far as goals against when he was on the ice on the penalty kill, and he played a pretty good chunk of penalty kill time with the Carolina Hurricanes, and you just haven't really seen him get that option here. Like, he doesn't get any special teams play at all. So I kind of look back at his time on the penalty kill in Carolina, and I was just like, geez, that might make sense for a penalty kill that's not hot shit as of late. So
it tanked.
Yeah, it was really good for a while, and
now it's 23rd.
It's which is just so bad. So I'd be open to that. I just like the way Fogle plays. I'm not going to be opposed to more Fogle in a special teams situation. So I'll buy it. Yeah. And we'll see how it plays out. Tommy, let's wrap up with a few questions from that thread I started a little bit earlier in the day. Let me just bring it up because there was some pretty good questions in there. Oh, one was. Well, we kind of talked about it a little bit earlier on, but just Hyman on the right side, depending on what they do here with Kane, there's no issue with Hyman on the right side, right?
No. And again, I think we talked about it on Wednesday's episode is the Toronto guys, the last time the Oilers faced the Leafs a couple of weeks ago, said that Hyman was more comfortable on the right side. And I was like, I thought he was just a right shot left winger, that he was more than happy to play left wing and would slide over to help out on the right side. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, slide him over to the right side. If you're stacked on the left side, I have no problem with that, especially if he's more comfortable there, which, again, I didn't know he was until I read the article out of Toronto.
I'm just looking at our comments section on the live stream, and there's people going back and forth at each other, which really means we've made it. Like, you haven't really made it until you've got, people who are, going back and forth at each other, which is pretty cool. Yeah, I love that oil stream infighting. It's nice. Yeah, keep it going. Thank you.
Keep fighting with each other.
Should the Evander Kane signing give Holland more motivation to move Kassian by the deadline? Near impossible task, isn't it?
Well, every time I ask about Zach Kassian, I'm told that he's impossible to move because no one wants that contract, especially with the performance we're seeing from Zach Kassian lately. In theory, it should give more motivation to move Zach Kassian. Whether or not there's even a market for him is the other part of the equation. And it sounds like there isn't really. I mean, that contract's kind of blown up in their face. Good player when he wants to be. Good person who's grown, obviously, and matured. But the results on the ice aren't there. He had some moments last night where I was like, okay, there he is. Maybe he's finding a bit of groove. But too many nights this season, last season, where he's left you going, geez, come on, man. Where was the guy we saw in 2017, 18, and 19?
Tommy, let's wrap up with this. Damon asks this on Twitter. And, well, you're at all these press conferences. So ask Tom how awkward that presser was to be at, if at all, Tommy. I mean, what was that one like compared to some of the other ones that you've been at?
That one was more intense.
Okay.
Given everything that surrounds Evander Kane, I'll reiterate, you could kind of tell from Tippett and Ken Holland's body language, like it feels like they're taking a risk going for it with Kane. At least that's my interpretation of what we saw today. And yeah, tensions are high still, not as high as last week. So that is a good read. I don't know if awkward's the perfect term to encapsulate how that press conference was, but I would say tense, and everyone was at their best and a little bit on edge because they had to sharpen up for it. A lot of eyes, not just in Edmonton, on that press conference, all across the hockey world. All
right, there we go. That's going to do it for another episode of the Ocean. I hope we hit on all the topics that people wanted to hit on. I don't think we shy away from everything. There will one time be an episode like on a Friday night when we're all allowed to like hang out again together. We'll get boozing and we'll do an oil stream tell-all episode where we just really just let it all out, which will be very fun to do. Tommy, what time you get going with your pregame show on 1260 tomorrow?
5 o'clock face-off out of the Bell Center in Montreal. So we go 3:30. We'll see who we get on. We'll get a good guest from the Habs point of view. Obviously, just an absolutely shit season for Montreal. Sorry, buddy. I know you're a Habs fan. And
it's all right.
Myself, Connor Halley, and Matty Cassian will have everything for you, getting you set for a matinee matchup, which is fantastic, or early evening. Looking forward to it.
Should be good. That's going to do it for us. We'll be back with another episode, 2 more episodes of the Oil Stream next week. And you can find Tommy in the pregame show. I'm going to be doing Golden Bears hockey games again for the first time in a long time.
Excellent.
Tonight, tomorrow night. That's going to be pretty fun. And then Brewhouse, I almost took Monday morning off, which then Tommy would have been forced to go in. But I decided, I'll just behave. And with that being said, I mean, we're going to be at the Brewhouse from like 12:30 to 8 o'clock. So yeah. I'll be home in bed by 9 anyway. I'll probably get the best sleep I get in weeks. So that'll be okay, I guess. But
I was like, oh, this is going to be awesome. Sunday back at Manning, close to home. And then you're like, can you do the show on Monday? I was like, yeah, of course. I'm always happy to step in for you, let you blow off some steam. And I was like, shit, I'm going to have to keep it on the rails on Sunday and not go overboard. But all of that, now that you're working Monday, out the window, so I can have a little fun.
Enjoy your time, buddy.
We're giving away tickets to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, which is very cool. So yeah, Brewhouse in Ellerslie, Brewhouse in Manning, and Eric's at the Brewhouse out in the West End in Lewis Estates. So you'll find us out in the wild there, and then we'll be back with 2 more episodes of the Oil Stream next week. Brought to you by our friends at Popeyes, Louisiana Kitchen, best chicken sandwich in the world. You can get it there. Tommy, have a good weekend, buddy.
You too, my friend. Take care, Dusty.